Hey YouTube, and thanks for watching Junkworks Garage. Well, it's time to work on the RZR again. We are going to be filling the transmission and transfer case. The transmission, I believe, is the back one. The transfer case is more the front one. They both take the same fluid, at least in my rig here. Yet again, it's a 2011 RZR 800. The first thing I'm going to do, and I might do that while we're here, is take off the fill plugs. One is here and one is up behind here. It says to disconnect all this, but I don't think there's any reason why you really need to disconnect anything. Next thing, I got my Pittsburgh tools here, the ones that are going to be in or around this machine when I'm using it. And it comes with a long extension. This is a 3/8 drive, first of all. Comes with a long extension and then a shorter extension, and I just put both those on there to see if I can get back in there. And maybe this is why they tell you to take this off. But I also have the wobbly extension here. I'm going to put on that and see just if we can't do this without tearing things apart too much. Now I preach, if it's in your way, get it out. But quite honestly, if you're on the side of the trail, the less you have to tear apart, the better, because then you don't lose parts. Yeah, I think I got it. We'll see if this will break it loose though. Yep, that took that out of there. And I'm just going to keep that loose for now. This one here is easier to get to, obviously. Ow. Don't break your wrist trying to bracket open. Yet again, these shouldn't be all that difficult to get open. These only need to be snug. I believe there should be O-ring gaskets on these as well. This one probably needs changed out, but what I'm going to do is go ahead and take it off, flip it around, and put it on the other direction, because really you shouldn't be having too many problems with things coming out of here. And there's definitely fluid in there, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and put that back in. Yet again, I was just making sure. This is the first thing you want to do anytime you're cracking anything open, is make sure you can fill it back up. And I've said this before in other videos, it's better to have old oil and grease or whatever in whatever it is than to empty it out and then realize you can't fill it back up again. So first thing, make sure those are crack open, and they did. Next, we need to go ahead and drain this. Now for the transmission area, we have the drain plug right down here. It's fairly easy to get to yet again. But on the transfer case, you have to come up through the bottom here somewhere. Yep. So I'm going to stick my finger right up through here. And right above that, my finger is touching where the drain bolt is. So you got to go up through this pan here and do that. Now on the transfer case, you got one other thing here. Behind this thing that they tell you to unplug right here, right there, you got to pull that out. Now that there is actually your full plug. So you fill it through this one up here, but when it starts draining out of there, that is when you stop. I've actually seen people on video ignoring that, draining everything out, and then filling it up till stuff comes out of the plug up here, and you do not want to do that. That would be over full. I've went ahead and taken off the rock guard plate underneath here, and skid plate, whatever you want to call it. And right here at the end of this shaft is your transfer case. So in this part, I am just going to be working on the transfer case so that we don't get things mixed up between the transfer case and the transmission. Now yet again, you'll have a plate here, and there's going to be a hole right here that you're going to have take your, in my case, 1/2-inch ratchet and an extension and bring it up through there and get on it. Now, from what I've seen any of these, it makes a giant mess, so you might want to have some rags and some cat litter ready to clean things up. Without the plate on here, it should be fairly simple. And I would highly recommend pulling off your skid plate. Just for the simple fact, I've seen people do these on videos and it makes a huge mess trying to do it through the skid plate. And as you can see, the only thing on my floor is those few drops right there. That is it. That is all I got on my floor, and I've changed every single fluid in this thing. I did the rear end, the front end, the transfer case, the transmission, and the oil. Every single thing, and that is it right there. That is the amount of fluid that wound up on my floor. So go watch my video where I pull this off, and I still have yet to put it on, but we'll see if it was worth it once we go to put it on. Clean here, safety glasses. Just kind of keep as much gunk out here as I can. This is something else. I did not go take and drive this around. I have it shut down and I'm doing some maintenance and a few other things. Yet again, go watch those in my RZR playlist if you would like. But you should, I guess, from what I've read in the book and things, drive these around for a while and get it warmed up. I'm not going to worry about it yet again. I'm more interested in what is in here, how much there is, and what it looks like more than anything. Something I should have said beforehand. I put the tire back on, set this flat on the ground. It's in a very flat area on my lift here. So you want to make sure everything's flat before you start doing any of this stuff. I just happened to have the tire off so I could see stuff better, so I was showing you in the beginning. But you want to make sure you keep your tire on and the rig as level as possible. Now I'm getting ready to empty this out. I'm going to put this underneath here and see if I can catch a little bit of it and see what it looks like right off the bat. Probably could do this with all the fluids, but I'm going to do it with these two anyway. I might do it with the oil as well. And this will just kind of give you an idea. Now you can send all these in and people will test them. Ooh, that actually doesn't look that bad. It's just purple. It's like a dark purple. Anybody knows what this bright purple stuff is? That Polaris or is that something else? I think it's, I wonder if it's like royal purple or something. You know what? I don't see any shiny stuff, any real nothing bad at all. I also reached up through here. Be careful because there are brake lines and things going through here and wires. And I'm going to pull the plug for that out the rest of the way, and hopefully that'll kind of help it drain a little bit better as well. Now, I have actually been letting this drip for probably over an hour now. And I am ready to go ahead and start putting stuff back in here. And this one did not seem too awful bad and didn't seem like it was leaking, so I'm going to go ahead and put that one back in there. And yet again, it's an O-ring. O-rings do not need to be tightened, they just need to get snug. I'm sure there's a specific torque spec, but I'm going to call that now. And I'll probably leave this plate off after I put fluids in this and have it just sitting here and put a piece of cardboard or something on the floor and see if I have any fluid leaks. I've also done the oil. That'll be in a different one, so go check that out. Working on the transfer case now. We have this wire right here. So here's the wire that they tell you to unplug, and that nut right there is the fluid level check is what it is actually. Yet again, I have my swivel with a 1/2 inch and both of my long sockets just so I can get a good reach on it. I have not unplugged this. I'm not seeing a reason why I need to unplug it, but maybe you will. Righty tighty, lefty loosey, and hopefully I don't kill myself. Oh, and I bumped you, but There you go. Now there shouldn't be any fluid that comes out of that right now anyway. Maybe this is why you unplug it, just to get it so you can get your fat fingers in there. But you really don't need to, but I'm going to because it is fairly easy. And I still can't get my fat fingers in there, and you can't see anything, but I'll get the plug out and see what it looks like. Alright, so there you go. It looks exactly the same as the two plugs in the bottom that we pulled the oil out through. This one looks okay as far as the O-ring. We'll go with it. I'm going to stick it to the side, make sure it stays in a clean place. And now we're going to go over here yet again and pull out the fill plug. There's the fill plug. There's the fill plug. And this is where I say if you do anything I do and you mess up your machine, then I am not responsible. But in the research I've done, this tractor hydraulic and transmission fluid should work for this. But I don't know for sure. Keep in mind, this is a 2011. The warranty was up many decades ago. And, well, at least a decade ago. And so I'm not worried about warranties and things like that. If you have a warranty, you need to use whatever the machine tells you to do. But in the research, like I said, this oil right here is similar to, and I'm sure I'm going to have lots of people arguing me on this, but similar to the Mystic T, I think it's T5. I'm not sure. You need to do your own research yet again. When we read through all the stuff it works for, it's the API GL4, which I think that had something, but the bigger thing was the John Deere 20 or J20C. So that is the same thing that people were saying about that Mystic T6 or T5. I can't, like I said, I can't remember. That it corresponds with the John Deere tractor stuff, which a lot of people use in these, is that J20C John Deere oil. Well, I looked at all these, both Mystic and the John Deere stuff, and by the time I bought those, I might as well go buy the Polaris stuff. This stuff, I will put a price in the screen because I can't remember what it was, but it was a lot less money for what equates to basically the same thing if you do the research. But you need to do your research. And this does not want to go in there very far. We're hitting right on the gears, so there's a bunch of gears in the way. So I'm hoping I can do this and pump it in there, and it seems to be working. And I'm just going to fill it until it comes out that middle hole. Alright, you're in my way. Oh, there it started going. I don't know if you can see that. I was just about to give up on the camera. Alright, and I'm just going to let that keep kind of dribbling out there until it doesn't dribble no more. I'm going to take the fill plug and put it back in. And quite honestly, these are almost easier to get in from the bottom than they are up here when you don't have the skid plate on. Okay, here's the other plug here. I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna get that from the bottom because my fat hand does not want to fit down there, and I think I can reach that from the bottom a little bit easier. And yet again, 1/2 inch wrench with the extension and a wobbly. And we are just going to snug it down. We're not reefing on anything. Good enough. And don't forget to plug in your sensor here. That does your whole transfer case. So from where these two things bolt together right here in the middle, over that way is done. Now we're going to work on the transmission. And if you're going behind the transfer case yet again, right up in here, you're going to have a hole in this area you're going to have to reach up through, and right there is the nut for the drain plug. Yet again, just kind of orientate yourself. You're going to come in front of the tire, and there should be a hole in this area somewhere that you'll stick your wrench up through. Alright, and for some reason, once every video it seems like this thing doesn't record what I'm doing. Basically, I just popped this out from here, went up right here with my ratchet and a couple extensions. Yet again, you'll have a hole right there, and pulled that out. It's the same fluid in this one. This actually did appear to have a few more metal flakes, unfortunately, and unfortunately I didn't get it on film. I also pulled out the fill plug from that side, from the side over here, just to allow more air in, allow this to flush out better, because I did not do like the book said and drive this around. Right now I have it kind of pulled apart, so I can't drive it. But yet again, this is the fluid I'm using is actually fairly inexpensive. I might drive this for a few months and do this again just to make sure everything's good to go. And I'm gonna yet again reuse this one. And none of these seem to be leaking, and they weren't too awful tight. I think the transfer case one might have been a little bit snug. I can't remember which one now, but this one just goes up in here. Yet again, if you have that bottom piece, you're going to have to take this and just kind of put it up in there and figure out a way to do it. Actually, I think you could reach. Yeah, you can. I'm going to place you in a different spot. So if you chose not to take the plate off here, you'd have to come in through here and try and just snug that on through here, and then bring your wrench up through and tighten it up. But so yeah, again, you'll have to go watch my skid plate video and see how difficult it was to put it back on. It wasn't hard to get off. I have a feeling it's going to be a little harder to get back on. Yet again, we're putting that in and just snug. So now we got everything drained out. We're gonna take off the fill plug here, set it in its spot, and we're taking the same fluid as I used in the transfer case, and we're pumping this until it comes out of the actual fill hole on this one. Alright, here it comes. And then we're just going to snug those down. You guys are responsible for torque specs on everything, so that, for all intents and purposes, should change your transfer case and your transmission fluid. Do your research though, because this machine is not a high dollar brand new machine, so I'm okay trying out some fluids that people say work, because more than likely they will. And as far as a SuperTech, argue amongst yourselves all you want. I'm not going to join into SuperTech arguments. All I know is I've seen enough research that both has been done by just people that I would say are pretty trustworthy, as well as independent studies that show that this stuff is just pretty darn good stuff. It meets or exceeds anything else out there. So I'm okay using SuperTech for a lot of things. To each their own, but regardless, that's how you do this, whatever kind of fluid you put in it. Regardless of what fluid you get, I would highly recommend picking one of these pumps up. They make life so much easier. It makes it so it's just not quite as messy, and you can get it where you want it. Cleaning this up, on the other hand, is not quite as easy. I'm going to keep this in here for now. Something that I had to do with this though is, as you can see right here, I added a piece of tubing to this so that it was long enough to get down in there. You may have to do that if you got a big jug like this as well. But this worked really good on, you know, your normal gear oil and those kind of things type jug. And it has the bigger one and a smaller one here. Unfortunately, this is way too big, but I was able to get it to work. So very happy with this product, and they're super cheap in a lot of different places. There's all the fluids in this rig, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Yet again, separating these videos. So depending on whatever fluid you just watched, I got every other one on my playlist in my Razor playlist, so go check that out on my channel. Now get out there and get your junk working. Thanks for watching Junk Works Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all and master of none. You all have a good one.